Hello everybody and welcome back. Now today it's going to be a Hoovie's Garage style video because I bought a project flip, I don't know what you'd call it. But this is my new to me, 1999 Jeep Wrangler. Watch some of my other videos, you'll know that I daily drive a 1999 Jeep Wrangler TJ just like this one. In fact, it is almost identical to this Jeep except for it's black. But in terms of everything else, this Jeep is identical to the Jeep Wrangler that I daily drive. It's a 1999, it's a Wrangler with the 4-liter, has the 5-speed manual transmission, has the sport package, has the disgusting green, purple, blue, and black, whatever you'd call it, patterned interior. And the only difference that I found was that my Jeep has air conditioning and cruise control, both almost pointless things to have on a Jeep Wrangler, especially of this era. First, a little backstory on the Jeep Wrangler TJ. Now, the TJ series Wrangler ran from 1996 to 2006, and it was a very, very popular model, and it still is to this day. Hence why I drive one. If you watched my video a few months ago, I bought a Jeep Wrangler YJ, which ran from 1987 to 1995, which had the controversial square headlights. I got a lot of backlash in that video because I didn't say how much I paid for it. Gave a full overview of the specs and everything that was wrong with that Jeep. Now, I paid $1,000 for that 1995, I believe it was a 95, Jeep Wrangler YJ with 278,000 miles on it. Now, that Jeep like this was black, it was completely factory, the frame was solid, which is very important on these Jeeps. It had the 2.5-liter straight-four engine and a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, to avoid getting absolutely scorned in the comments section, I'll tell you guys that I paid $1,500 for this running, driving, good shifting, good framed 1999 Jeep Wrangler TJ. And at that time it was the cheapest running, driving, not used for parts Jeep Wrangler TJ in the country. That's excluding Billy Joe's side of the yard for sale Jeep Wrangler that is not online, that I can't find. So today I'm going to give you a tour of my new to me 1999 Jeep Wrangler TJ and tell you everything that's wrong with it and everything I plan to do with it. So let's jump right into it. So first thing you'll notice when you walk up to the Jeep, of course, is this fender. Now Jeeps, especially this era, are notorious for rusting on that fender right there in that exact spot. In fact, here is my Jeep Wrangler that I daily drive, same year, with the same exact rust spots. Obviously not as bad as the other one, but on the driver's side, it's beginning to bubble there, and that spot had been fixed. Not very well, obviously. Next thing, aesthetically wise, that needs to be fixed on this Jeep is the dent in the rocker right there. Now, that's a pretty decent sized dent. I don't know if the camera is doing it justice. You can obviously tell that someone took this off-roading and bashed it into a rock. How do I know? Because the running boards were broken off my Jeep TJ off-road doing the same thing. Now, this Jeep Wrangler actually came with a hard top and a soft top that's in the back seat there, which actually make this a very, very good deal because hard tops alone are worth about $500 around these parts. Now, moving around to the back of the Jeep, there actually is not a ton of damage to look at. Of course, the spare tire rim is going to have to be painted, cleaned up. There is a little bit of the normal rust there and under the passenger side taillight. Those are both easy fixes. Onto the driver's side, you have a little bit of rust forming in a normal part there, but not very much at all. And of course, all 4 of the fender flares are going to need some paint. Now, down here on this side rocker, looks like something was damaged, and they began to repair it, but they didn't quite finish the job, so that's going to need to be cleaned up. This Jeep did have wind guards that I began to to take the adhesive off of. They were all shattered and broken. This is not a very easy thing to remove. If any of you have any better ways of removing this other than the old fishing line trick and heat and acetone, then be sure to drop me a comment. This side, it's relatively clean. It could use a good buff and detail, and definitely gonna need to paint the regular mirror mount. Driver's side fender is almost flawless. Little tiny bubbles, but they're not even all the way through. It almost looks like you could sand those right off. So it makes me wonder if this fender was repaired already, or if it just, for some reason, didn't get attacked with the normal rust. Now, front and rear bumpers have both had the end caps removed, not in the best form. They look like they were just cut off, but it does help the look of the Jeep very much. Now, all four of the wheels are definitely going to need to be cleaned up. They are corroding quite a bit. I already hit them with some wheel cleaner, pretty strong stuff, and it cleaned them, but it did not do anything else. So those are damaged, and I'm going to need to clean those up. Now, one of the biggest things that is a worry and a burden on these Jeep Wranglers is the frame. Now, these things are usually destroyed, but thankfully, this Jeep has no holes in the frame. The whole thing was patched before I got it. It's got some surface on it now. Obviously, it wasn't protected correctly with paint or undercoating, but a couple cans of paint will clean that up. This Jeep is actually very, very structurally sound. Now, moving on to the interior of the Jeep, first thing you notice, door panel's in good shape, but it actually has the same exact crack in the same exact spot that my daily driven Jeep Wrangler has, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure why they cracked there. But down below here, the mount that attaches the door string cable thing to the actual door is broken off, so the door just kind of hangs open on its own. There's the same exact rip in the driver's seat as my daily driven Jeep has on it. But other than that, the seats are in very, very good condition. Now, the cluster isn't cracked on this, and it actually has a Bluetooth radio deck already installed. If any of you were wondering, that right there is the microphone, so you can use the Bluetooth to make phone calls, unlike the people that thought that was a camera facing the driver, which would be really, really weird. Now, moving on to the passenger side, both of the door latches work. Door latch on the driver's side of my other Jeep is actually stuck open, so that's something I have to fix. And if you're curious, yes, I already did clean this interior up a little bit. I vacuumed it. It did not look this good when I bought it. Carpet's in great shape. I even got some Goodyear floor mats with it. Bought this off an ex-Samurai, you can tell, because he had this absolutely bad shift knob on the Jeep. As I said before, this was the cheapest running, driving, good shifting, clean frame Jeep not used for parts in the country at the time when I bought it. But I didn't say that it started. Now, when I bought the Jeep, the owner had it running, and he said, don't stall it because it might not start back up again. We had to jump start it. So when I went on the test drive, I was on my best behavior, had my best driving skill, and made sure not to stall it. So I drove it back to his house. It ran beautifully. I made sure not to shut it off, haggled a little bit, bought the Jeep, and drove it back. Now on the ride home, I made the unfortunate mistake of shutting it off, and then went to start it back up. And nothing happened. The cluster lit up, but no clicking from the battery, no nothing. It was almost as though the Jeep didn't realize that the clutch was in. So my dad and I rolled it down a hill and pop started it just to get it home. Once I got it home, I did a little bit of research and found out that these Jeeps have a clutch safety switch that you can disconnect, which tells the Jeep that it doesn't have to have the clutch pedal in to start the Jeep. So I did that with no avail. So after some quick diagnostics, I went to the auto parts store and got an $120 remanufactured starter after they tested mine and said that it was dead. So I went home, put the new starter in, and look at this. $122 later, the cheapest starting, running, and driving Jeep Wrangler in the country. Now this 4-liter straight six has 185,000 miles, 185,962 to be exact, but it runs absolutely beautifully. It actually runs better than my Jeep Wrangler with 178,000 miles. Maybe I should just keep this one. Pipes underneath, no oil, no antifreeze. Both differential pumpkins are clean and dry. So that is my cheapest 1999 Jeep Wrangler TJ in the country. And now I've told you the price, I've told you what's wrong with it, I've told you what I've done to it, and what I still have to do to it. So none of you can yell at me in the comments. But stay tuned to see what I do with this Jeep. I'll probably do some how-to videos with it. But in the meantime, that's it for this video. I will see you all in the next video. Happy motoring!